Okay, people, we're going to do a REST API. We're going to use Node and Express with a MongoDB. And here we go. We're going to use the Express generator. By the way, I'm going to assume for this video that you are somewhat familiar with a bunch of this stuff. This is not a necessarily beginner video. I do plan on going back and really hashing out all of these pieces, but I want to just go through it real fast first, give the overview of how it all works, and then we'll go back and break down pieces into smaller chunks and figure out what's going on. You saw what I just did there. I have this set up to right click, open a terminal shell right there. So what we're going to do is with Express, create a new project. You just do, if you have Express generator installed, you do Express and then the name of the project. So this will give us some basic stuff. Do what it says, change directory to REST API and npm install. That'll install all dependencies and we'll be ready to go. The other thing we're going to be able to do, so here you can see back here, when I did that it created this for me. It created this folder, so now it has this basic stuff in there. Which we can also do, we have this set up with right click, is open with VS Code. Open in my other window and bring it over here. Okay, and here we go. We can see, what did it give us? It gave us this package.json. So you can see some of the dependencies that it's got. It gave us some roots, gave us some views. We're not going to really do in the views because our REST API is going to return JSON. We'll take a look at this briefly though. The app.js is the main instructions for the server, how to run. Again, I'm not going to cover everything in here, but in general, what we're doing here is telling when the browser requests something, this tells it what to do. Okay, so it's saying, first of all, let's do this. Make these all const because we like ES6 versions, right? Okay, so this says down here, where does it say? App.use. When somebody requests the route, use the index router, which is this, which is a variable. What does this variable mean? It means use information from this place. Okay, this place is this, roots index. So when somebody requests from the root route, so here's that information, the root route, give them this, render the index template, and with that template send along this variable title with the value express, and we'll show you what that means real quickly. How do you know where that is? That information is in here in bin www. It's on local port 3000, port 3000, well, process.environmental variable port, or port 3000. Since we don't have that set up, it'll go to 3000. So for our example here is port 3000. We don't have that running yet, so we need to get that running. We're going to use nodemon instead of just npm starting. Nodemon will make it so that every time we make a change, we don't have to restart the server. If you have this installed globally, you just type it nodemon. It should go. So once that starts up, maybe it's running already. We go here, and it should give us something. Express. Welcome to Express. Where is that coming from? Right, that's over here. So we told it to, app says when somebody asks for the root route, use index router. Index router means use the information in this file, index router. And it's saying, okay, here's that root route you were talking about. Response, you're going to render the index template with a variable of express. Well, here's the index template with the variable title, right? So it should be a header level 1 with the title and welcome to the title, which is that what we got? Yes, header level 1 with the title, welcome to the title. So you can see that that's, we can show you where that's changed. We just go back to, oh, where is it? There we go. Here, that's where we define that. So if we change the title to save. NodeMon should have adjusted that for us. So now we just hit reload and it should be REST API, and you see it changed it in both places because it's a variable. We have showing up in two different places, right? We have the variable title here, and we also have it here. When you use it in line with a bunch of other stuff, you use this format. If you're setting it just like h1 with nothing else, you do it this way with the equal sign attached with no space in there. But if it's in line with like other stuff, you throw it in this format, which looks a lot like ES6 template string, where it would be inside of backticks, the whole thing, but then you would use the $sign. Very similar. Alright, so, but we're not doing templates here. We're trying to do a JSON responses, right? So instead of this, we're going to do, well, first of all, we have to set up the database, because where is that information coming from, right? So we're going to use Mongoose to talk to the database. So in app.js, we have to tell it, hey, we're going to use Mongoose for our database. So I have to do const mongoose equals require mongoose, right? For one thing, and then we also have to do right, can't find mongoose, right? Because we don't know what we're talking about yet. We don't have it installed. So we're going to do npm install mongoose, and then once we get that in there, we told it what mongoose is. It should run without a problem. While that's loading, we'll move on to, we need to make a file over here, well, a folder I should say, called models. Model is just, you're telling the database, hey, I'm going to be making some stuff and here's what it's going to look like. We're just going to use this users. Okay, so where is this users? What the index was at the slash. This looks like it's at the slash. So what does that mean? So we got to look back here in app.js. This is telling us app.use the root route, use the index route. That's what we were just looking at. But this is saying app.use slash users, use the user router. See what's there right now. So slash, this is the slash index, which means slash blank, right? Slash users is what's that giving us right now? Nothing, because we're crashed because we didn't start it. It loaded Mongoose, but I forgot to restart. So nodemon, it should restart the server. As soon as it does that, now we should be able to do users respond with a resource. So over here, we're saying when somebody goes to slash users, which is what we just did, look for the users router, which means use this route information, which is here in routes users, right? And that's exactly what it did. Here's the response object, send this string, respond with a resource, okay? So you can see, just to show that that's, in fact, to be JSON, we hit save, nodemon restarted the server for us, and now it should be, there we go. So we know we're hooked up properly. Okay, but we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be doing, we're going to be talking to Mongoose. But first, before we do that, we need to set up the model, right? So that's what we're doing. Models, users.js. We need to tell it that we're going to use Mongoose, just like we did in the other file, in the app.js file. Require Mongoose. And then we're going to say when we're telling it what to expect, it's called a schema. So you do schema equals mongoose.schema. You could do this without this step, and then where I'm going to use this schema, you could just put mongoose.schema, but everybody else seems to do it this way, so I'm going to do it this way. So we're going to do, what are we making? We're making a user. We're going to use the user's root. We use the users. It's all going to be talking about users. So we're going to make a user. The user is going to be equal to a new schema, right? So that's what I'm talking about. You could have just, instead of just doing this step, you could say new mongoose.schema. But so here's where we define what that thing is going to look like. In MongoDB, they don't think of it as tables like you do with relational database. They think of it as they call collections, which is more, it looks a lot like a JavaScript object. So what we're doing it here is creating an object. Essentially, they call it a document. So, but for our purpose, it sure looks like an object to me. So we're going to have user, it's going to be their name. Let's just do first name, which will be a string, and last name, which will also be a string. And that's all we need for the purpose of this. We're just doing first name, last name. Okay, nothing crazy here. So now we have to say we have this, and that's all well and good, but the other parts of the program need to know about it. So we have to do exports. What are we exporting? It's a mongoose model. What model we're talking about? We're going to be doing the user model. And what's the I like no, let's do it this way. That might be right. We'll have to come back and see if that's right or not. That feels funny to me. I feel like that's not right, but we'll figure it out. If that's not right, we'll come back and check it out. I want to say that's schema there instead of user, but we'll find out. At any rate, so where were we? We were at users. Okay, so what's going to happen here? We have to tell the program to use. We told it that it's going to need Mongoose, but now we need to connect to Mongoose, to our database. And what goes in here is a URL that connects to our database. I have one over here off screen that I'm going to just I'm not going to do it off screen. I'm going to show you where it is because it'll make more sense. We're going to use mlab, which if you don't know what that is, it's just a free service, totally free for learning purposes. If you were doing a real live site where people are paying for money, you would not use the free version, but for learning it's awesome. I have this one set up here. We'll have a bunch of them obviously in there, but this one you can see user, I need to create a new user. Oh, I have Alex. We're going to add another one. Alex123, database password, Alex123, Alex123. Okay, you need to create a username and password for each one. It's not the same as your mlab password, it's something different. So here's how it tells you how to connect to it. Use this string. I'm just going to, usually you would have this in some sort of environmental variable or somewhere hidden, but for what we're doing here, we're just going to put it in directly. You have to change this to your username and password, database user, database password. See that? So for us, it's going to be Alex23, Alex123, and that should connect. Now you can add a callback here, or a promise, but I'm going to do it with the callback. Just an anonymous function that says connected to database. Okay, just so we know that it worked. So we save that, and let's see now. I'm gonna restart. Why didn't it work? Mongoose.connect. Invalid left-hand side in assignment. What do you mean? Do I have the format of this wrong? Ah, that's what's wrong right there. That should fix it. What doesn't it like now? Connect 3 ends in connect. That's not going to be helpful. What now? Start. Alright, it's working. Connecting database. We can get rid of this error. We just throw this line in here. It just goes in between here. It's something part of Mongoose that they're changing something. So you put this in there and it stops giving me the error. So we'll throw that in, see if it restarts and does it without the error. Let's see. It's funny since I copied and pasted. What could be wrong with that? Oh, I know. I didn't put the comma to separate it. You guys probably still have these errors I'm making. That's probably good. There, finally. Connect the database. No errors. Awesome. So now we're talking to our database. Now, what are we going to do with that? So we're doing users, right? So we have to tell this guy to expect that we're going to use Mongoose 2. Right? And then we have to tell it where that model is, because otherwise it doesn't know what this user thing I'm talking about is. So where's the model from here? We're in users, so we have to go up and then into models and then users. So we go up one level, into models, and then users. Since it's JS, we don't have to put the JS, it uses that by default. So that should work. Let's see if that gives any errors. Restarted, connected, no error showing up so far. Good. I think we are good there. So now we should be able to find all the users. It's the first thing we want to do. See what's in this user collection. So Mongoose gives us this functions, or I guess that's called methods, right? Because it's a dot after the user object, so it's a method. So when you want to find all of them, you just leave. You could put an object in here. You could say find by name. You would put curly brackets, and then you would say name equals whatever it is that you're looking for. We're not doing that. We want to find all of them. So we can either just put the empty object. I also don't think you even need to do that. Just user.find. And then you have to do... Oh no, okay, so you have to tell it what you're looking for, which in our case is everything, and then you have to do the callback function. What do you do with that? The callback means you do something, and then the callback is what you do afterwards. So there, look for the object is the first thing, and then what are we going to do with what comes back? What comes back is either an error or the data that we're looking for. What we want to do with that, so if there's an error, we have to do something about it, or else we will get problem. It will throw errors at us. It'll bark at us and say, hey, you didn't handle that error. So if there's an error, we're just going to return console.log error. And during return there, you could do if error without the return, but then you have to do an else. I think it just looks nicer with just error if you return. Because you want the error, you don't want it to go on to the next thing. You want it to show the error. But if we get the data, then what we want to do, all we're doing is responding with JSON, but we want it to be the data, right? That came back, this data right here. I'm going to return that data as JSON. Okay, so we don't have anything in here yet, so in theory it should return something blank. I think it's an empty array. In theory is what should come back. So let's see. This started, it connected. So now if we go over here and we say users, what is it going to give us? Nothing. Why not? What's the problem? Still waiting for localhost. It's not throwing any errors, but it's still waiting. Why is that? What do I have right in here? It's not giving me an error either, right? Truth, I'm baffled. Maybe manually restart it will help. Maybe, maybe not. Now it's not connecting to the database. Could be my internet. This craps out on me sometimes. You never know. But it shouldn't be waiting for localhost. Oh, see, there it was. It probably was my internet. So it finally went through. Like I said, it's gonna. We didn't put anything in there yet, so it's gonna return something blank. In our case, it's an empty array. Awesome. So we know it's working. There's nothing there, but we know it's working. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how to put something in there, right? So this was going to be a post request, add a new user. Okay. So how do we do that? We're going to do, just like we did up here, router.get, we're going to do router.post though, because that's how you add new information. It's going to be the same root, but it'll interpret it differently because we know it, because it's calling it as post instead of get. So even though it's the same root, it's a different request, all right? So same thing, request and response. I should fix this to make this ES6 because that's not cool to have it both ways, right? Hold on just a second. Take a break. Okay, sorry about that. We don't need to, for what we're doing call next, we're not doing any crazy middleware or anything like that, so we can just use the request and response. So what we want to do is interact with this user first of all, but instead of finding one, we're going to create one. So what do we want to create? We want to use, it's going to be an object like we said before, and it's going to be the name. Oh, we're using first name, last name, right? Where are we going to get our first name? We're going to get it, it should be coming from a form, a web page form. It would be in the body of the form, right? So we're going to do request.body, that's the body of the form, first name. Now when we write that form, we have to make sure that we use the form field, call it first name for this to work, obviously. But that's the idea. Last name is going to be rec.body.last name, okay? And that should be enough to do it, except then we need to just do the callback just like we did before, which takes an error or returns an error and our data. What are we going to do with it? If there's an error, we'll return log error. Otherwise, we will res.json with our data, okay? Which will be the data that we're going to get back from here will be the one user, okay? So we save that. Let's see if there's any errors popping up or if it connects. Okay, that's a good sign. But how do we get it? You can't do a post request from a browser without it being written into the form, right? There's like by default anything you type in here is a get. So we're going to use this tool called Postman. Well, just to show you something real quick. Localhost 3000 did a get request here. Oh, well that's right. So this is the HTML from that root route. But we're looking actually at the users. What's going to send us here? Same thing. Okay, so return that empty array. So what we want to do is make it a post. So this will let us do a post without it being in an HTML form. Okay, so that's the idea there. So we want to send body, and we're going to do raw. We're just going to send JSON. We're going to send this JSON. It needs to be in double quotes. First name Alex. Alex Nielsen. Now, in theory, that should, so what do we think that's going to do? We're going to send it this thing, right? It should send it here, create the new user. Shouldn't be an error, so we didn't see this, and it should return that object. We send it an object, it's going to return us an object, right? That's the idea, anyway. So here we go. Press send. It returned us an object with an ID, which Mongoose adds an ID automatically. But why didn't it have the body? Because I know why. I think we need to. We didn't tell it to use body parser, which is body parser is just a piece. It's a of course you have to install it. Tells the computer how to, or the app how to talk to connect the body of your document to the server, right? So now that means we also have to tell it in here in the app to use body parser, right? Okay, is that enough, or is there something else we have to do? Alright, so let's try that again. Nope, there's still a, there's another line we have to put in here somewhere. I can never remember what it is. Did I put it in this? I have to find the line. I can never remember what it is. It's app.use body parser, I think. Let's just try it. Let's see if that works. Let's see if that's enough. I don't know, I think there might be even another line. Not quite. Deprecated body part. Use individual JSON your own middlewares. Okay, I can never remember this. Let's see the. I'm sure it's going to tell me very quickly what is used. How do we use body parser? Okay, so that's, we just do so for what we're doing, that should work. If you're doing it in doing it in a real form, you might have to do the URL extended thingy, but this looks like that worked. So now let's see here, let's try it one more time. Still no dice. Why not? Do I have to tell it it's JSON? Is that why? There we go. Okay. I just needed to tell it that we're sending JSON by clicking this over here. That time it worked. So now what's going to happen if we look for our users? It's going to send us an array of those users. So there should be 2 that don't have the proper information that are assigned to us with just an ID, and 1 correct one, I think. Oh, I guess we did 3 of them before we figured it out. Okay, so that's the basics for now. We got our server set up, we got it talking to the database, we got a way to put users into our database. How long have we been going here? We're going about a half an hour, so it's a good place to stop. The next one we will do is how to delete the user. What are some other things we can do? We can create a user, we can delete a user, we can update a user. We can view, instead of this viewing all the users, we're going to find a way to view just 1 user at a time. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful so far, and we will do another one in a little while.